It's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And do you know what? I'm going to talk. I'm early today. I'm early. I was supposed to be at 11 o'clock Spanish time, and I'm ready now. So I thought, no, I'm just going to come on and do this. I want to talk about this. This clown. This sheriff that's dealing with the Nancy Guthrie case. I just want to send my condolences to Nancy's family. Not that we know that Nancy is deceased yet, I don't mean in that way, but for the way that this is all being dealt with. I just feel so sorry for them because this is so irritating for us. This man has just made such a cock up of everything from the word go, really. Please don't send this man out looking for me if I ever go missing. I mean, the FBI haven't done much better, but having said that, the FBI did not come into this case right from the beginning, did they? So I feel all the time with this case, it's on catch up, the forensics. This idiot keeps saying every day, oh, no press conference today, but we will do a press conference if there's anything important comes up. You know, a man was arrested or detained and questioned. Is that not an important development? And is it not an important development then when he was found to have nothing to do with this case? You know, for him, if nobody else, to do a quick press conference or, you know, I don't know, just release some sort of video or, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to actually call a great big press conference. He can just release a video. You never see him talking about the case. He's off to his basketball matches. He just never attended the scene of the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. He's not been there. What is this man? You know, why did he ever want to be sheriff? Just so that he could sort of have the prestige of being sheriff, but he didn't want the responsibility of what that involves. That's how it feels to me. So apparently, and this is what everyone is saying, and I'm sorry, there's no smoke without fire. He's blocking the FBI. This guy, he wants to be the one to solve the case for his ego, but he also doesn't want to do the things he's got to do to solve the case. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow they find poor Nancy in her own home somewhere hidden. I literally would not be surprised. Because to me, where's the proper searches of the area? Where's the cadaver dogs? Or any dog would do, I think. Where's even one of the sort of people who live in the area was saying, where's the horseback searchers? It's a difficult terrain to search walking around it because there's lots of cactus and this, that, and the other. You know, normally in those sort of environments, just like in the Australian bush or anywhere like that, or the outback, horses are used because they can maneuver around these difficult terrains. So where's the horseback searches? You know, they must have thought right from the beginning there's a possibility they're looking for a body because there was blood all up the driveway, apparently. And where are those searches? So every now and again, the FBI go out, or some people go out, don't even know who they are. They do half-hearted searches looking for evidence or, you know, but they searched the, what do you call it, didn't they? The septic tank. How well did they search it? I don't know. I think there's, you know, I'm losing hope for Nancy, but I don't think she's going to be far away from that place, or maybe she has been taken far away. I don't know. But all I do know is this guy is still not doing press conferences. Now it transpires that actually he has got a grudge with the FBI because a couple of years ago he was under scrutiny for embezzling money, while he was sheriff, and the FBI investigated him. Now, I want to make it clear that no charges were ever pressed against him, but I've seen interviews of him talking. He doesn't like the FBI. Then other people talking about and saying what an ego he has. He's a bit of a maverick. He just does, what he thinks. I don't like him. And it's not only me. Everyone's complaining about him. Everyone just can't believe, you feel like you might as well just send in Deputy Dog, might have a better chance of solving this case. Anyway, that's what I think. Then that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So no, there have been sort of some developments over this case. As you know, I say I've taken a step back from it, but in the sense of doing videos about it. Until today, I was just compelled to. But I have been watching it. I've been watching all the other podcasters and what they've had to say, all the developments. They found a glove, didn't they? But it could be anybody's glove because apparently it's been sent off for testing. That's the bone of contention because it's not been sent off according to the FBI, it's not been sent off. There seems to be a clash in between the Sheriff's Department and the FBI and how this case should be dealt with. And I know who I'd go with would be the FBI. At the end of the day, the FBI are experienced in dealing with these cases. What I think's happened with this clown is basically he's just been hit with the biggest case he's ever probably had anything to do with. He doesn't know how he's out of his depth, but he wants to be the one to solve it because he wants the kudos from it if it ever finally gets solved. Anyway, before I start, I just want to say I hope you're all well. Wherever you are in this crazy world, I hope life's treating you well. I want to say thank you to you all for liking, for subscribing, for sharing if you share my videos. Special thank you to my members. We're having our members live tonight this week because last night I was out doing taxi and I couldn't do it, but tonight's not a problem. So we're going to do some more unexplained mysteries. We're going to talk about a very intriguing cold case. Thank you to those of you who bought me Ko-fis, who contributed to the fund to get a new computer. Sometime over the weekend, I'm going to sit down and see where I am with that. Thank you to those of you who send super stickers, leave nice messages, send nice emails, or contribute to my channel in any positive way. And most of all, thank you all for caring about Nancy. People care about what happened to Nancy Guthrie. But does this man care? Does he care, I wonder? I don't know. And does he care about that neighbourhood? Turns out, let me say my hellos first and then because this case is getting more and more batshit crazy all the time. Talk about suspects, and not for a lack of suspects. There's a million shady people wandering around this neighbourhood at 2:00 in the morning. There's bloody CCTV from all sorts of people's houses, and strange men in rucksacks and discarded ski masks. And oh my God, it's like you wouldn't want to put it this way. Don't move to this area. These bloody shady characters wandering around at all hours of the morning. Anyway, we're going to talk about what we think might have happened to Nancy. We're going to look at one other CCTV of a man who does look like the man who was on Nancy's CCTV. But do you know what? I think there's probably a million men out there that look a bit like the person that was caught on Nancy's CCTV. But anyway, never mind. So, yes, hello, lovely lurkers. gosh, thank you for watching. What do you think of this case? I know you lovely lurkers, you don't necessarily like to come into the chat, but I really want people's opinions, what they think on this case. You know, do you think the sheriff is rubbish, or do you think he's being maligned, or is he as rubbish as everybody thinks he is? So, hi, lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Hi, replay crew. Again, let me know what you think. Please, please. Any insight into this case will be useful. I've learned more from podcasters about this case than I have from this sheriff. He's the guy in charge, really. Whether the FBI have told him to shut up or not, I don't know. But he is the guy in charge. He is the sheriff of that area. He has a responsibility to take control, or at least look as if he's taking control. You know, do press conferences or little videos with updates or something, just something. He releases the same statement every day. The sheriff's office released the same statement every day. It's not even a new statement that mentions anything about, you know, recent developments. It's just a repeated statement, exactly the same. Oh, there are no press conferences planned at this time. Anything changes, blah, 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 blah. It's just a repeat. They're not even putting out a different statement every day. You know, they're rubbish. Anyway, so yeah, hello, replay crew. Thank you for watching. And let's have a look who is brave enough to come into the chat. Hey, Paul. Now, oh, that was another thing that I just wanted to say. So, yeah, remember when Kash Patel went to the area, and then that's when the poor guy, Carlos, was arrested. Not arrested, detained. You know, and Donald Trump said, oh, yeah, there's going to be development soon, and Kash Patel. So what was that all about? Just making it look like the FBI were doing something? I don't know. Just all I know about in this case is they're rubbish, all of them. So apparently the family now have hired a private investigator. I don't bloody blame them. In fact, if I was this family, I'd be out there myself investigating. I'd be in that house of Nancy's. I'd be looking everywhere. I still would not be surprised if Nancy is there. Oh, and something that I just wanted to say that happened to me yesterday. I literally just had a flash about Nancy talking to me. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you know, I do get these things sometimes. And she's in a well. She just was saying to me, she's in a well. So I don't know. I mean, they did search a septic tank. Is that a well, the same as a well? But she wasn't. Well, they didn't find anything. Maybe they need to go back and search it again. Because the thing is, if this guy, anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. So yeah, so apparently this sheriff, hi SCM, apparently this sheriff doesn't like the FBI because the FBI investigated him over embezzlement of funds, and no charges were brought, but he's got a grudge apparently. It's what people are saying anyway. And actually, I've seen a video of him complaining about the FBI, not about this case, but previously. Hi, Angel. Hi, Mark. Hi, Julie. Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't really know how it works being a sheriff in America, but you get elected, don't you? You get elected. It's probably a really cushy job, especially in a place, you know, because although he's the sheriff, you know, he's not out there patrolling the beat, you know what I mean? So you've got deputies, you know, who do all that for you. So really, you're just the figurehead, I suppose. And it's probably, yeah, he's off to his baseball games and he gets his expenses and he's, you know, playing Mr. Big around town. And now he's got this massive case. He doesn't have to go there and search himself, but he should be at the scene. He should be reassuring the neighbours. He should be doing press conferences. That's what he's paid for. God's sake. Absolute joke. Hi, Snoopy. Yeah, we're all thinking this case is going to break. I've sat and watched anytime I get a chance to. I sit and watch JLR investigates because he's there round the clock. I mean, he does make me laugh because he's just literally there. He drives from scene to scene. He drives in between Nancy's house, Annie and Tommaso's house. He's been into town. He's talked to locals. He was the one, I think, that had the pizza delivered, or one of his followers ordered him a pizza or some food or whatever. And yeah, that people have just, it's not even, the scene has not even been protected properly even now. And this sheriff said from day one it was a crime. From day one, it was never said, oh, she may have wandered off or blah, 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 blah. From day one, it was said it was a crime, but they've never treated it properly like a crime scene. There's so many media there. They're just all wandering around like JLR. I watched him. There was some FBI there because he gets all really excited when the FBI go, oh, the feds are here, the feds are here, gets his tripod out. But he was following these FBI agents, literally following them around as they were looking for clues or whatever they were looking for. He was just walking behind them with his camera. I don't know. It's like the Keystone Cops. It's like a comedy, except it's not funny because an 84-year-old woman has disappeared and she's been gone now. It's nearly 2 weeks. On Sunday, it'll be 2 weeks since this woman was reported missing. There was blood found at the scene. This woman can't survive without a medication. There's CCTV of a weird and creepy man in a ski mask with a gun disabling the camera. This is not funny, but it's like you could make a naked. Did you ever watch Naked Gun films? You could make a Naked Gun film out of it. It's so ridiculous. Ay, crazy. Hi, Daniel. Happy Friday. Yeah, they're all there. Yeah, I watched a lot of JLR yesterday. Oh, JLR's eating there, and practically because people were making jokes because they set up that's right. Yesterday, they set up a forensic tent at the front door, a week and a half later. We don't know why they set up a forensic tent. We don't know what they were looking for because we've not had a press conference. Did they find anything? They're supposedly, examining all these CCTVs and everything. But yeah, we've had no information. The sheriff, he doesn't have to do a press conference every 5 minutes, but surely every couple of days he could do a press conference. Do you know what I mean? It's like, God, it's a crazy, crazy situation. Anyway, let me take this clown off. Poor Nancy, and so to me, I just think, poor Nancy, this is her life, really, is in their hands. And the family, their mother's life is in their hands. They're not dealing with any of it. God, if it was my mum, God, I'm not surprised that they hired a private investigator. Oh, hang on, I was going to turn that off. I'd be there investigating myself. I think you'd have a better chance. I certainly would be searching myself. I think Nancy is around there somewhere. I wouldn't even be surprised if she was in a house somewhere and they've missed her. Have they had cadaver dogs in the house? Have they even had cadaver dogs? I have, as any, I know a lot of you have been watching this, and have they even had cadaver dogs looking for her? You know, from day one when they found all that blood on the porch and up the path, that's when the cadaver dogs should have been there. Maybe they were, maybe I just can't remember. But yeah, what happened to the cadaver dogs? Anyway, so I just want to show you, if I can find it. Now, so people are still like a little bit, what's the word? Suspicious of Tommaso, the son-in-law. But, you know, it seems that, I don't know, I don't think that certainly the picture that's been released to me doesn't look like Tommaso. Tommaso's got a lot of facial hair, and you can't really see that. You can see that this facial hair, you can see that this facial hair on the person, but does it really look like that big bushy beard that Tommaso's got? Unless he's had it trimmed down. I mean, you know, I've seen photos of Tommaso, but maybe at Christmas, I think the most recent one that was on Nancy's Facebook. But, you know, I mean, where are the family? I suppose the thing is, the family, they can't even go home to their own house because of the media attention. Do you imagine if Tommaso turned up at that house, or Annie, their own house? There's media outside there all the time. And the same at Nancy's house. There's media all the time, but of course nobody's living there at the moment. But, you know, it may be that the family, so the FBI went there, they went into the house, came out with some stuff. They took the post out, the letterbox. Are they doing that for the family? Because the family can't go to their own mother's house because they'll just be like a media frenzy, wouldn't they? If Tommaso turned up at his own house, that, you know, or maybe he should do that. You know, maybe he should say, you know, this is my house and I'm coming here. I don't know. Or maybe because the police have been into his house, and maybe they've advised him not to go into it until the investigation's finished. We just don't know. We don't know bugger all, do we? Basically, we know bugger all. Sweet FA, as they say, sweet Fanny Adams. That's what we know. That makes you think, is that what the police know? Sweet FA as well, you know. Let's have a look at a video. Let's have a look at what Nancy Grace has got to say about it. It's only a very short clip from a video. I literally, sometimes I just don't know where to start with this case. You know, there's lots of bits of information coming out about it, but I wouldn't say that any of it is like proper what you'd call, I'd say here. Do you know what I mean? So we, you know, I could be on here and show you lots of little bits and pieces of things, but because we haven't got press conference with everything being dealt with and addressed, it's all just bits and pieces of information. See if this will come up. You know, and as I say, we're learning more from, and TMZ. I'll talk about that in a minute. So TMZ, they keep getting information about the Bitcoin account.
DNA, but even if that's why He's hanging his hat. There are cases where DNA is sent to a particular lab, a specialty lab, a lab that could have an expertise in diluted, destroyed, old, degenerated DNA. But even if that's why he's hanging his hat on an excuse to send it to a private lab in Florida, they don't have anything that the FBI doesn't have. So that's not going to wash. And I want to tell you something, Sean. I've tried many, many DNA cases. I've tried many cases without DNA. You can use up DNA if you have a small amount, which comes from touch DNA. It's not like blood or sperm where you may have a lot of DNA and a very small amount of fluid, but you have a lot of DNA. Touch DNA, no. If there is it hurts me to think of this. If there is a small amount of DNA inside one of those gloves and it is sent to a lab for testing, that DNA could be used up in the testing. It's very hard to regenerate DNA for testing purposes. So what I'm saying is, if that lab in Florida uses up that touch DNA, it's over. Does he not realize what he is risking? He needs to go back to his basketball game.
Yeah. Exactly. Get back to your basketball game, you fool. But you know, that's what Nancy knows what she's talking about. She is an experienced prosecutor. But I think we all know that if you follow true crime, DNA, it's not unexhaustive. You know, if you find a little bit of DNA, you once every time you test it, you're using a bit of it up. And you know, if it gets tested several times because it gets tested for different things, you know. So DNA, you know, can be a bit of sweat, or it can be sperm, or it can be, I don't know, just flakes of skin. You know, we don't, when they say they found DNA, at first we don't know what kind of DNA. Is it touch DNA? Is it, you know, I mean, we've no reason to think this is an sex crime, but it could be. You know, there's weirdos out there that do things like that, attack old ladies in an sex way as well. So we don't know what kind of DNA it is, but a glove and some DNA have been found, and he sent it off to the lab. What to a private lab in Florida? Why has he done that? He's got the FBI there, and as she says, there's nothing that any private lab will have that the FBI have not got. So, and if he sends it off there, is there any of it going to be left for the FBI to do their test on, or tests, whatever it is? You know, it is just crazy. So this is the latest thing as far as the sheriff's concerned that everybody's up in arms about, because the sheriff should be working with the FBI. He should be. There's no two ways about it. He should be working with the FBI, not against the FBI. The FBI have got, you know, they've both the sheriff's office and the FBI have got unique things that they can offer to this case. So the that they offer to this case, the sheriff can offer the local knowledge. You know, the FBI won't have local knowledge of the area, etc., and just generally things going on. The sheriff has got more access to that because presumably he's local to that area. But the FBI have got all the expertise and the labs and the data analysis. I mean, it's only since the FBI's become involved that we've started getting like the CCTV and things like that. You know, this guy, I don't understand why he's working against the FBI. I just don't get it at all. So I hope I haven't missed anyone coming in. Now, I didn't know that Nancy had a dog. I didn't know that Nancy had a dog. Snoopy's saying there that she does. So what happened to the dog? I always have to know what happened to the dog, but why didn't it bark? What happened to the dog? No, it didn't. She didn't have a dog. She didn't have a dog. The black dog that appears in the missing persons flyer appears to belong to, I think it belonged to Annie, does it? Yeah, because I've seen, yeah. That wasn't her dog. That is Annie and Tommaso's dog, the black. And I've seen a photo of Tommaso with that dog on Facebook. So no, Nancy did not have a dog. So that was Tommaso and Annie's dog. There's always a dog involved somewhere, isn't there? Oh, listen, you know what? I should, if it was nearer, I could go over with my dog, Rocky, the little Rocky. When I was thinking about him this morning, as I was taking him out to the car, because we were going off to take my son to work, he comes out of the house like secret squirrel. He's like, it's like you could put the the sort of music on for, the FBI or whatever, because he comes to the door and he stands there and he looks all around like this. What's going on in the neighborhood, Then he runs down the stairs to the gate, and then he's at the gate looking like that. Then he gets on his back, he stands up literally so he can see a bit higher. And he's like, what's happening? So then I open the gate and we go onto the pavement, the car's outside, and he's on the lead and he's like that. I thought, oh God, I'm going to have to video him one morning. He doesn't miss anything. I tell you, he's like, what's going on in my neighborhood? And then when I open the car door for him to jump into the car, he goes to jump in, and then he just stops a minute and has one last look around, one last scout around, just in case he missed something. He's so funny. They need to get him there, I think, and I think he'd find Nancy in about 10 minutes. But imagine that if she is ever found actually in the house, wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, I'm presuming they've had dogs in the house, have they? I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about this Bitcoin thing. So, of course, Bitcoin have had a lot of free publicity, haven't they, over this case? So, originally, there was a ransom demand. Well, 2 ransom emails were sent with these deadlines for putting $4 million in Bitcoin into a Bitcoin account, and if it wasn't done by the Friday, then the price would raise to 6 million by the Monday. But of course, whoever did that did not produce any proof of life. So although $300 was put into that Bitcoin account, which is thought to be the police who did that, just always like a temptation. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it was TMZ who put in that $300, because TMZ are loving getting involved in this case. I mean, they're a gossip Hollywood magazine channel, whatever. They do get a lot of scoops because they've got a lot of contacts in the Hollywood area, or anything that goes on with anybody famous. They always seem to be at the heart of it. But so it wouldn't surprise me if they put that $300 in themselves, just because they seem to have access to this Bitcoin wallet. They can see any activity in it and this, that, and the other. Anyway, so then they said they received another note from someone who said they knew the kidnapper. They weren't the kidnapper, but they knew who the kidnapper was. High admit. And they wanted 1 Bitcoin to be deposited into their account. and they needed one Bitcoin is worth about $50,000 apparently at the moment. So, it's quite a lot of money. It doesn't sound like much in Bitcoin because it's only one. It's still quite a lot of money. Anyway, there was no response to that apart about TMZ had something to talk about on their podcast, didn't they? Because they knew it'd been sent to them, the ransom note. You think, oh, it's funny. Why is everybody sending? Why is TMZ getting to all these ransom notes and everything? That to me just straight away means they're not genuine, because there's a $50,000 reward anyway for information leading to finding out what happened to Nancy from the FBI. So if you knew something about it, you would want to claim the reward legitimately. Why go for a Bitcoin dodgy account thing? Anyway, so it wasn't paid, this one Bitcoin. So then this same person apparently contacted TMZ again and said, oh, it'd be dangerous if you don't pay it, and I need this money because if once I come out and say who the kidnapper is, my life will be in danger, so I need this money to hide, and blah, 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 blah. Absolute load of cojones. Because if, as I say, if they really knew who the kidnapper was, first of all, they shouldn't need a financial incentive to say what's happened to an 84-year-old woman, and all her family are grieving, wondering what the hell's happened to her. Secondly, there is a legitimate reward available from the FBI if they did need the money, and also the FBI would offer them witness protection if there was really a risk to their lives or whatever. So it's a load of rubbish. So anyway, that's what TMZ's been, but it keeps TMZ relevant, because they're on, oh yeah, they've sent us this ransom note. Kidnappers, proper kidnappers, they don't send ransom notes to the media. They send their ransom notes to the law enforcement or to the family. They like to stay under the radar. They don't want a great big load of hoo-ha, that is the way it seems to me anyway. So I think we can presume that that's a load of rubbish. Oh, and on another note, initially there was another kidnap note sent, wasn't there? They caught that guy. He was arrested for being an imposter. He's just been released. I don't know what I suppose he's been released on bail, and he'll have a court case coming up. I don't know what the sentence is for sending a false kidnap note. No idea what that sort of sentence will be. Should be a big one, I think, because it causes so much misery, and it diverts the police's attention from from finding Nancy, which is the crucial thing. They've got to chase down these red herrings because they can't just ignore them. So it wastes time, so just terrible. But anyway, there's just some very sad people out there, isn't there? Very sad people out there. All they've got to do with their lives is send false kidnap notes to, make families suffer. What is wrong with people? For God's sake. Yeah, I know. That was the dog commenting. What is wrong with people? You wouldn't do that, would you? No. No, she just tries to murder my other dogs. Don't you? You like people though, don't you? So that's the Bitcoin thing. God, you just don't know where to go with this story. As I say, lots of little bits of information keep coming out. It's like somebody's leaking information in the sheriff's office or whatever, but the sheriff himself is not doing a press conference. So we're just left to deal with all these bits and pieces. The forensic tent was put up. Was that the FBI? Was it the sheriff's department? Was it the private investigators for the family that did set up that forensic tent outside the door? Then the forensic tent was taken down, but we don't even know why it was even put up there in the first place. Listen, we don't have to know all the details, but a little bit of information would stop people making things up, wouldn't it? You know, you'd think at least every couple of days a press conference addressing, things that people are saying and saying the truth of it. So I've learnt more from podcasters about this case than I've learned from official sources. And I don't like that, because we've just seen even now talk about whether she had a dog or she didn't have a dog. There's lots of people, podcasters can talk a load of crap. They say things without, investigating whether it's true what they're saying. And they say it as if it's verbatim, and then people are watching it and they believe it, and they say it's somebody else, and it's like Chinese whispers, isn't it? So the only way you can stop that happening is by doing a press conference. Oh, so another thing that I found from JLR, and I think it is true, because he at least he is actually there on the scene. He goes and talks to people from the area, and he was talking to a woman from the area, and apparently Nancy would go into Starbucks with her caregiver. So that was like, what? So we didn't even know she had a caregiver. So what do they mean? Is that like a home help type person who would, like a companion if you want, or who would take her out for coffee? Just, because when her family couldn't. So apparently she was seen regularly in the Starbucks with her caregiver, but we don't know who the caregiver is. And it's not that I'm saying the caregiver has got anything to do with it, but if somebody who's familiar with Annie's house, with Nancy's house, and they've only got to say the wrong thing to somebody unscrupulous in all innocence. So who I go and take out for coffee is Savannah Guthrie's mum. It only takes one comment like that to somebody who is like a bit suspect, and they think, oh, Savannah Guthrie's mum. Oh, I bet she's got some money. Oh, where does she live? Or, only takes a throwaway comment. And you just don't know what people are listening, because again, I'm reminded of the Helen Bailey case. Helen Bailey was the writer. She had a little dog, Boris. She married that awful man that I can't remember his name. She was a widow. She was a successful authoress. She had money. She met a guy on the internet, Ian, I think his name was. Married him. And she disappeared. Her and her little dog, Boris, disappeared. This was in the UK. And there were searches made, and, her husband, he said that she had she had a property elsewhere on the beach somewhere where she would go and write sometimes. She liked to go and be on her own when she was writing. They had no children. There was no children. Helen had never had any children. This dog was her child, Boris, little sausage dog. So her husband said, oh, she just said she was going off to do some writing, not to contact her because she doesn't like to be contacted when she's writing. And the only reason he phoned the police in the end was because of pressure from her family, friends and family. He never phoned to report her missing until he had to. Anyway, the police searched for her. There was no clues. It seemed that she had been to this place because of, I think her phone had pinged there or something. And the police were mystified. And then one of the neighbours, so this is how the neighbour, local knowledge is important. One of the neighbours said, oh, there is a cesspit in the garage. And Ian, he'd parked his car over the cesspit. So the police didn't even know there was a cesspit there. And lo and behold, when they searched the cesspit, what did they find? they found poor Helen and her little dog Boris's body and a toy in there, a dog toy. So it's like he threw, they think Helen may have been alive when she was put in there, but sedated. And then it's like he threw the toy in so the dog would go in. What an absolute twonk. Anyway, the thing is, we're talking about throwaway comments. Then one of the family remembered that when they'd been in the house one time and somebody had mentioned the cesspit, and they'd said, oh, that'd be a good place to hide a body. And you know what? Ian was probably listening to that and thought, oh, yeah, that would be a good place to hide a body. Because he'd been planning this for ages. Oh, and then the other thing that was found, that his first wife, who apparently died of a medical emergency in the garden, turned out she was murdered as well. So he'd murdered his first wife. Then he'd looked for another victim on the internet, fell on his feet with Helen because, you know, she had money. You know, she was vulnerable. She was looking for someone. Absolutely fell on his feet and got around her and married her. And and when she was missing, he started siphoning off her money and buying season ticket to his favourite football team, and looking into selling the house. Anyway, he was caught. So he was caught not only for Helen's murder and little Boris. He should have been charged for little Boris's death as well, animal cruelty. But he was charged for his first wife's murder as well. So, God, this is, you just, honestly, the evil that walks around us, like literally these people, they're not, drooling monsters that you can see from a mile off that they're bad people. They're not. They're not. They're just normal people. So, they look normal. Ian was your average middle-aged guy, quiet. Children, had children with his first wife, grown-up children. God knows what they thought of it all. And there he was. He was like a demon. He was like a... There are demons in this world, aren't there? Or people that get possessed by demons. And there he was, living in that house with Helen. He was drugging her for months, apparently. She'd been saying, oh, God, I feel tired all the time. I don't know what's wrong with me. That's what she'd been saying to friends and that. He'd been sedating her for months. And then finally, probably didn't murder her. He was a coward. He probably will have sedated her, pushed her into that cesspit, made the dog go in with her. And that's the sort of person he is. God, I hope he's having a shit time in prison. Anyway, he's got a life sentence, but doesn't bring Helen and Boris back, does it? Poor Helen, she had a lot of tragedy in her life because her first husband drowned while they were on holiday. He went out for a swim, the waves were a bit choppy, and the next minute his head's disappearing under the water, and she phoned, got help, but it was too late. He was dead. Just terrible. Very tragic life, isn't it? Lost her first husband like that, and then her second husband was a murderer. So the point of that, I know I went off into a waffle, sorry, but the point of that, what I was trying to say is, only takes a throwaway comment from that caregiver. Maybe the caregiver said to somebody she knows, oh, that poor woman, she's on her own every night. I worry about her. She seems very vulnerable. Without not thinking that the person she's saying this to is registering it and thinking, oh, she's on her own every night, is she? She's 84. Bet she's got things I can steal. It's like, just takes a throwaway comment. It doesn't even have to be to that person. This caregiver could be sat in a bar or sat having a coffee, or she could tell her friend, who tells her friend, who tells her husband, who tells his brother, who tells his cousin. Do you know what I mean? Because when people are famous like Savannah Guthrie is, people talk about them. If I was, well, I've never had any famous. I teach Spanish. The nearest I've come to a famous student, I suppose. Well, it wasn't them. It was Joan Collins. Joan Collins, the actress, the British actress who used to be in Dynasty. It was her cousin came to me for Spanish classes. And of course, I told people that. I said, "Oh, I've got coming for classes. It's Joan Collins' cousin." And she said to me, I mean, I love Joan Collins, she's just a legend. But she said she loves work. She just loves to work. She's got energy like you wouldn't believe, because of course she's quite elderly now, Joan Collins. Of course, I told people that. You do. I know you can just imagine someone saying, "Oh, guess who I'm looking after? I'm looking after Savannah Guthrie's mum." But, oh, I can't believe she's on her own every night, and I feel sorry for her. That's all it takes. A throwaway comment gets reverberated around. Do you know what I mean? It just gets reverberated around, and who knows where it ends up. Ooh, Mark, have you had famous clients? Have you? Yeah. Oh, Empole, was Helen Bailey's house near you? Oh, bless. I mean, that's always stuck in my mind, that case, because it was so cruel what he did. So cruel. What that husband of Helen did. All the murder cases, all the cases we cover the cruel one way or another, but some are crueler than others. And the fact, don't forget, he carried on living in that house. So Helen was in the cesspit in the garage under the car, and he parked the car over the thing. So the police didn't even know there was a cesspit there until that neighbour, thank God, just mentioned it one day. Oh, have you looked in the cesspit or something? So, he was living in that house, knowing that Helen and that little dog were in that in a cesspit. I mean, a total disregard for somebody. Your wife as well. This isn't somebody you don't even know. If whoever if somebody has done some harm to Nancy and put her in the cesspit, if it's uh, you know if it's a random thief, that's bad enough. But one of your family doing it, no, and then he carried on living in the house. Carried on living in the house. I think a lot of people makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because they're quite often finding bodies buried in gardens. There's one recently, just a couple of days ago in the UK, wasn't it? A Polish woman that had murdered her girlfriend years before and buried her in the garden. You just wonder how many people are buried in gardens and woods and things. All these missing people. They won't all be dead, of course. All the people that are missing in Britain or in the world. But a lot of them will be, and they'll be buried somewhere, probably in someone's back garden. You know, look at Fred and Rosemary West. They had their own children buried under the patio. Anyway, right, what else do I want to tell you about as far as this case is concerned? Oh, so now they've got new CCTV of a guy who's been roaming around the area with a rucksack. And I've got to say, I do think that this guy looks like the guy that was seen going into Nancy's house with the sort of very distinctive eyes, doesn't he? Distinctive eyes, facial hair underneath the ski mask. Now, there's still a few things though about this that I just don't understand. The guy that was seen going into the house, let me see if I can find this picture again. There's all music going on outside here. I have no idea what's happening. It's Friday, isn't it? Ain't everybody at school? But anyway, let's have a look at this new CCTV. I mean, it certainly seems like somebody's wandering around this bloody neighbourhood. Somebody is wandering around this neighbourhood trying to get into houses. But where is it? My question is, though, sorry, I can't find this at the moment. I will find it. Why would somebody break into Nancy Guthrie's home with a rucksack packed full of stuff? You can see that rucksack was full. Normally somebody breaks into someone's home with an empty rucksack because they're going to be loading up things that they're going to steal from the home. And there were lots of things to steal. You know, old Nancy's wallet was there, her phone, presumably jewellery. And as far as we know, this person, the only thing that's missing from Nancy Guthrie's home is Nancy Guthrie. That's what I don't understand. If this is a robbery, if it was a kidnapping, there would have been a genuine ransom note by now. And there hasn't been. It would have been released the first day. So I don't think they broke in there to kidnap her, did they? Or was it a robbery and they got disturbed and things went wrong, and that's, you know, but why did they take Nancy with them? You know, just put her in their car. You know, they're just creating more crime scene. I mean, that was definitely Nancy's blood that was at the door and leading up the path. So one way or another, her blood has ended up there. Which, did he take Nancy out of that front door? That's got to be on CCTV, hasn't it? You know, if they caught him going in and they could recover that footage, surely they've got some footage of him taking her away as well, or if not from Nancy's home, but from roundabout. You know, there's got to be. Oh, it makes your head hurt. This case, it really does make your head hurt. Why would they? You know, I can see that someone can break into a house, think there's an 84-year-old woman living there. She's not going to, you know, she'll be asleep, and then say Nancy wasn't asleep. She woke up, there's a bit of an altercation, and you can see that he could panic and shoot her or hurt her. But why take her with him? Why, if he's a total random person to Nancy, he doesn't have to cover up the crime scene. You know, I just don't understand why he took her away. Really just don't understand that. And didn't steal anything. So what a pointless crime it was. You know, it's not a crime that you could think you could really profit from. You know, he's not managed to profit from the ransom because he couldn't provide proof of life. Maybe he didn't know it was Nancy Guthrie. That's another thing. Maybe it was a completely random thing. It wasn't until a couple of days later that he realised it was Savannah Guthrie's mum. And that's why the ransom note was late. And maybe Nancy had already died. And that's why you can't provide proof of life. That's if you believe the ransom note was genuine, which I don't believe it was genuine. But then what's the other reason for doing it? You know, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crackers. Couldn't get any more crackers. The only way this case is going to get more crackers, they're going to find Nancy in that house somewhere. And they'll find she was there all the time. Just wouldn't surprise me with this police department. You know, just wouldn't surprise me. Right, now I want to find this. Let's see, it'll be on there somewhere, surely. I want to find this new on January the 23rd, they've got another bit of door cam footage. Somebody turned up at somebody's front porch at around 3:30 a.m. and then returned at 5 a.m. And this person does look a bit like the guy on Nancy's camera. Let's see. You know, because he had quite distinctive eyes, didn't he? The guy on Nancy's camera, the eyes. In fact, a lot of people think it's a woman because the eyes were so striking and dark. But I do think it looks like this person a bit. Let's just play it. See, let me know what you think. Yeah, don't worry, Paul. You know, if we didn't laugh, we'd cry in this case, or in most cases that we talk about. This one is. So this is another CCTV area. Let's have a look at him. Very similar. I mean, he hasn't got a skiing mask on, but he looks quite similar. Wait till you see his eyes. Look. See the eyebrows and the eyes? I think they are similar. And we don't know who this man is. That's the look. See the eyes? Don't you think they're similar to if you can remember the first, the CCTV from Nancy's house? I think that looks a lot like him. But as I say, I think there's a million Hispanic males out there, or Arabic males, or any sort of Mediterranean nationality who have got that look. But the eyes are similar. No, it's not Tommaso. It's not Tommaso. Sorry, I'm just reading up the chat just to make sure I've missed anyone. But yeah, it's not. No, not Tommaso. I mean, the thing is, poor Tommaso. Unless it's announced that Tommaso is arrested or whatever, I do feel sorry for him really, because he's the son-in-law, because Ashley Banfield. And we mustn't forget that virtually within 2 days of this case, Ashley Banfield was saying that Tommaso was a suspect, and then we had the sheriff department saying no, there is no suspect. And then we've got that other CCTV came out, and it didn't look like Tommaso really, because Tommaso has got a massive beard. The guy on the CCTV is more of a goatee type beard like this guy. But the thing to me as well is the eyes. Let's see if I can get a better... Something about the eyes. He's got a big tattoo on his neck. He's got a big tattoo on his neck, the guy. So somebody will know this guy because of that tattoo. Look, that's as clear as anything. Anyone who knows this guy will recognise him on here. And he needs to be questioned because he needs to be eliminated. Now, obviously, he's not going to want to come forward because he's seen doing something sketchy. So he's not going to want to come forward. But having said that, once he sees that he's out there in the frame for the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, which is a possible murder, a kidnap and murder, is a lot more serious than burglary, isn't it? Or trespassing. Trespassing is one thing, but if he thinks he's in the frame for a kidnap and a possible murder, maybe he will come forward. He should come forward, really, because he don't want to be, it's different from home invasion, isn't it? He wants to make sure he's not done for home invasion. Not done for kidnapping and murder. Home invasion is a completely... See if I can get... Look, yeah, see. The eyes do look like him. But as I keep saying, the eyes look like him, but I think they're typical eyes. I think the goatee beard, etc., moustache and beard is typical of any Mediterranean, Latino, Arabic, there'd be a million men that could be. But I do think his eyes are quite distinctive. Yeah. His ears are distinctive, but of course we couldn't see the ears because of the ski mask for the other guy. Good. So the warning as well is don't buy a house in this area because this is the third, including the Nancy Guthrie CCTV on the porch. This is the third one. There's all these random people wandering around this neighbourhood at 2, 3 in the morning, doing up to no good. And the other thing is they're bloody thickos because don't they know that they've got door cam? They'll all know now, and that what the other thing that they'll know now is that the FBI can, it doesn't matter if you remove the door cam, the FBI can get it back. It's amazing what they can do, really. So, is this the person? Is this the same person? Yeah, no street lighting because there's no light pollution allowed in that area. So you're not allowed to have street lighting. Well, they've got these little lights up, haven't they, there? But I don't think you're even supposed to have that. You're not supposed to have any outside lighting. There's no light pollution allowed in that area, which of course then makes it sort of easy in one way for a burglar. But don't you think that they would have to be familiar with the area? You're not going to go to an area where it's pitch black and try and kidnap someone. You must at least know the house, know the area, know something. Because although, yeah, it's great under cover of darkness, but when you can't see what you're doing either, it actually makes it quite difficult. Now, of course, that the CCTV at Nancy's, the guy had, in fact, maybe I can get that up as well. The guy had a pen, a torch, one of those pen torches in his mouth. Now, that's led a lot of people to think that they may be, let's put this picture, that they may be an electrician or something, because tradespeople, they have used these little thin pen torches that they hold in their mouth when they're in like crevices or dark areas, like looking at the electricity wiring, or doing whatever they're doing to do with building or whatever. And the guy who appeared on Nancy Guthrie's porch, he was carrying one of those in his mouth, wasn't he? So I'm going to put that. I've just got a picture somewhere. Let's put it up. So that led a lot of people to believe that maybe the person had been in Nancy's home doing some work or whatever. And maybe, maybe. Where's that picture I've just downloaded? Because they're saying that this is maybe somebody who was in Nancy's home, doing work or whatever. That's how they know the home. That's how they know she lives on her own, no dog. I don't know. Why can't I find that? Hang on. Hey. I never find a picture that I'm looking for. That it? Yeah, there it is. Oh, no, that's the other one. Where's the other one that I've just... Oh, there it is. There it is. There. So, yeah, this is the actual picture from Nancy's home. So you can see his eyes are quite distinctive, and the reason that light is shining from his mouth is because he's thought that he had a pen torch in his mouth to see what he was doing. Now, alternatively, this guy doesn't. This guy is not using a pen torch, the other guy. Let me just take this one down. So, but having said that, the other guy, there is a little bit of light on this porch. I mean, was he specifically going there for Nancy? I mean, it is, although it looks similar, the guy looks similar, the eyes look similar. Don't forget the one that went with him that was full of something. We don't know what was in the rucksack, but it was full of something. Also was wearing a balaclava, and gloves, which this guy is not. So maybe just learn to be a bit more careful. I don't know. Decided this time he was going to wear a balaclava, take a torch, a rucksack. Why you would take a full rucksack to do a robbery, I don't know. That rucksack is really intriguing me, because I think when you go to do a robbery, you take an empty rucksack. You might take a few tools and bits and pieces, but not that rucksack that the guy at Nancy's house had. Was full, jam-packed with stuff. So, is this the same guy? Or is this, are there loads of, because there was another video released, but that turned out they've announced that wasn't anything to do with it. So how many people are roaming around this area in the middle of the night, messing about with ring doorbells, with door cams or whatever? How many were there? God's sake. It's not what you'd call a safe neighbourhood, is it? Bloody hell. If I looked at my door cam and saw that, the next day that someone had been there outside my house like that, fiddling around with, oh my God, you would absolutely have a heart attack, wouldn't you? Which, of course, is what might have happened to Nancy. Imagine this guy in the back. So you wake up in the middle of the night, you're 84 years old, you're disturbed in the middle of the night and see that looking at you next to your bed. Well, I think I'd have a heart attack, and I haven't even got a heart problem. So it seems likely that Nancy could have had a heart attack. But then where did the blood come from? So there was blood, and this guy, he had a revolver with him as he went in. The other guy did not have a revolver, or not that we could see. This guy had a revolver pushed down his jeans, right, pushed direction of his crotch. Good job it didn't go off, or, well, say good job, but shame it didn't go off. So where did the blood come from? It's a total mystery. If Nancy woke up and had a heart attack, and he panicked and decided he had to get rid of her body, but I don't believe that. If this is a random burglar, he wouldn't have been concerned about moving Nancy's body. He would have just left her there where even people who murder people, if they're random attackers, they don't take the bodies away with them. When bodies disappear, that is normally families who do that, or people known to them. Well, they haven't said, Marg, whether the blood was new or old, but I don't think Nancy, like me or you, would you leave blood there for days? If you had a little accident, I don't know, nosebleed or whatever, though it was quite a substantial amount of blood, you're not going to leave it there, not clear it up, are you? I don't think you would. So, yeah, where did the blood come from? Did he shoot her because she woke up? And then the blood's dripped as he's taken her out to the car. But again, why take her out to the car? I just don't understand why. So, yeah, Julie, as Marg says, she had a pacemaker. And it was connected to her iPhone watcher, and they disconnected at around 2. But the thing is, this person did not take Nancy's personal effects with them. Maybe they didn't know that the pacemaker was connected up to the iPhone, but why not take the iPhone? I don't understand why I didn't take the valuables. Did she have money in her purse? Did she have jewellery? They just literally broke into this house to kidnap her, and maybe it went wrong. It just doesn't make sense, but none of it makes sense, does it? That's the whole problem in this case. Nothing makes sense. And the thing is, this sheriff has not made it any better, has he, with the way he's dealing with it? I think it's not being dealt with right, So this is the sheriff who for days now, who has said he's not doing a press conference, but if anything of any importance comes up, he will. He never did a press conference about this, about these photos. So what does he consider important? You know, what does he consider important in a case? He doesn't consider it important that they've got these CCTV images. He doesn't consider it important that somebody else has been seen, a similar looking person, in the early hours of the morning in the neighbourhood, you know, doing the same thing. He doesn't consider it important that a person was detained and questioned, their house broken into, looking for Nancy. That his mother-in-law said, the police said they'd had a tip that Nancy was in that house. Broke into his house, searched his house, detained him, and then released him without charge. That's not a development either. So none of these developments, you know, the glove being found, the ski mask being found, well, it'll have been sent off, they'll have been sent off for testing. There might be nothing to do with this ski mask or these gloves. But no press conference. It's been nearly a week now since we've had a press conference. You know, just ridiculous. So admit saying the blood was from somebody standing still on the doorstep, plus a tiny smudge from a shoe. Well, the thing is, if they were taking Nancy out, like maybe, you know, with you can sort of see it, can't you? That if they were holding her, because listen, even for a big strong man, and even though Nancy was only a little woman, probably didn't weigh too much, it's not easy to carry a body, you know, no matter how slight someone is. You know, maybe she wasn't a body at that time. You know, maybe she was conscious, but she'd been injured. And yeah, maybe he's taken her out the door. He stood there in the porch for a minute, and maybe she was standing and he had his arm, you know, he was like holding her up with his arm, and maybe he just stood there for a second, and that's where the blood fell. It's horrible to think about, because this, whatever has happened to Nancy Guthrie, it's not good, is it? You know, whichever way you look at it, that poor woman, she must have been terrified. So, you know, this is what's haunting me a bit at the moment, because I'm just thinking, you know, what a horrible experience. Now, there's still a possibility she's still alive. I know we have to be positive, but every day that passes makes it less likely that this case, you know, that she's going to be reunited with her family, doesn't it? And then whose car? Whose car did he put her in? Did he have a car there? Just waiting outside? Did nobody notice that car? Where did he take her? You know, listen, if you've got a bleeding woman in your car that you've just kidnapped or taken away, you're not going to want to go far, are you? Because you could get stopped by the police at any minute. So you can't see it's going to drive miles unless it. I do think she's round about there. I think they should search a bit more. As I say, I had this sort of thing where Nancy herself was, you know, it's just a thing that I had, that Nancy was in a well. A well, that was the word she used. And there are wells around there, but have they looked in them all? I know they've checked one, but there must be more than one. Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy? Just, it's a very, very mysterious case. So there's so many things, you know, the bloody ransom notes, these CCTVs of other suspicious people. Is this the same person? There's the Bitcoin demands. I personally just think, TMZ should just stop talking about the Bitcoin thing. They're just using, it's a lever that they've got to keep talking about. How are they? Well, to be fair, it's not their fault. It's the sheriff's fault, or the FBI's fault, whoever you want to blame, or a combination of the two. They're not giving out any information or doing any press conferences. So TMZ are doing their press conferences for them, or JLR investigates, or anybody else who's there. And to be honest, good for them, because at least they're there and they're trying to make an effort into wondering what the hell's going on. But as far as law enforcement's concerned, I mean, maybe they're quite happy to let the podcasters do what they're doing, and they're getting on with whatever. I keep hoping that. Are they actually doing something? But this guy, he just seems to enjoy his basketball, and he's not even been to the scene. He's not put a video out to calm down the neighbourhood. This is his neighbourhood. He's the sheriff of this area. And he's not even comforted. The people must be terrified. Imagine if you were one of Nancy's neighbours. Not only you'd be, upset for Nancy and hoping that she gets found okay and all that, but you lived like just a couple of meters away from where all this, whatever it was, happened. He's not even been on there to reassure people. He's just unbelievable. He's just having this ego competition with the FBI, who doesn't like, because they investigated him for embezzlement like 10 years ago or whatever. Because he's been sheriff before, years ago, and then somebody else was voted sheriff, and then he's just recently been voted sheriff again. There's a history there. Let's have a look, actually. Everybody's complaining about him now. It's like, it's not just me, that's for sure. That the FBI saying that the FBI have come out and said he's withholding evidence. Oh, apparently he's just hit back at the claim that evidence is being withheld. Let's see what that says. So Arizona's Pima County Sheriff, he's blocking the FBI, and he says the claim is not even close to the truth. So this is a dispute that was reported by Reuters, and it cited an unnamed US law enforcement official, and it centers on gloves and DNA that Nanos wanted sent to a private Florida lab for analysis instead of the FBI's National Crime Laboratory in Quantico. And he said that quite a number of gloves had been recovered in searches during the investigation, but he said we don't know the true value of these gloves. I mean, they're pretty common gloves, aren't they? I would imagine. So he says the FBI just wanted to send the 1 or 2 mile and a half, and I said, no, why do that? Let's just send them all to where the DNA exists, all the profiles and the markers exist. And they agreed it makes sense. It's not very becoming, is it, or bickering between them. Just not good, is it? Let's see if I can find Sherry. The thing is, people have been this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, that could be just someone who's got a personal grudge against him. Let's have a look at him on the county sheriff's department. Oh, the other thing that I didn't like, I must admit, I didn't like about him when I saw him being interviewed. I don't think it was the sheriff, Julie. It wasn't the sheriff. It was the sheriff's deputies. The sheriff's department have been to Nancy's home. There's always somebody there sort of stopping people trespassing. But the actual sheriff, do you know what I mean? Not the deputies. He hasn't been. He hasn't been. Definitely not. Now, I want to show you. Oh, that's right. When I saw him being interviewed, I don't know where he's from, but he sounded like Jeffrey Epstein to me. He sounded like he was from New York, not from Arizona. I mean, I'm not an expert on American accents. Yeah, there's always someone from the sheriff's office there, but not him. Not his. Oh, I'm putting the wrong one up. Hang on. Oh God, it's telling me to remove that. Okay. Yeah, he sounds just like Jeffrey Epstein. You know, that sort of New York type accent. So I don't know where he's actually from. It might say on here. Let's have a look. Maybe it's just me. As I say, I'm not good with accents, so I could be completely wrong. Oh, he was raised in El Paso, Texas. So that's not Arizona, is it? Or is it nearby? I don't know. Before becoming a law enforcement officer, he attended the University of Texas, El Paso, majoring in public administration and criminal justice. Sheriff Nanos began his career in law enforcement in 1976. Very good year. With the El Paso Police Department, he became a member of the Pima County Sheriff's Department in 1984 as a collections officer and was promoted to deputy the following year, which began the upward trajectory his career would continue to follow. Throughout his career, Sheriff Nanos has maintained a strong emphasis on his work in criminal investigations, particularly violent crimes, sex crimes, and narcotics interdiction. This dedication to his work has allowed him to move up the ranks, previously serving as chief deputy and appointed sheriff. So he's been sheriff before. So he was elected as sheriff in 2020 and he was returned to the department ready to serve the community. He's responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget and a department comprised of nearly 1,500 highly qualified, trained and committed employees, complemented by over 400 volunteers who provide support through the organisation. And he is supported by his wife of 38 years, Charlene. So that's the guy. So if he's got all that massive budget, where's the cadaver dogs and the horses searching for Nancy? I don't think Nancy will have been taken far. Surely she won't have been taken far away. She's not been kidnapped, in my opinion. There's been no legitimate kidnap. No, she's not kidnapped. She's been taken away for a reason. Maybe, sadly, she was attacked and maybe she was already deceased. But having said that, there was blood. Now the blood. You stop bleeding when you die, don't you? But he still could have dripped off her. I don't know. I just don't even like to even picture it in my head. It's like, poor woman. For goodness sake. Just terrible. Anyway, press conference. It needs a press conference. He needs to do a press conference. He hasn't done one for days, a week probably. He needs to address all these issues because people have lost confidence in him. And I'm not talking about me, podcasters. It's not. it's nothing to do with me really, but I'm talking about the neighbourhood, people that live in the neighbourhood, the family, Nancy's family. He owes them a press conference and explanations and stuff. Maybe he is already talking to the family, but the neighbours, the neighbourhood, they don't know anything about what's going on. They don't know if they should be scared. They should be scared because that's 3 CCTVs now that have come out of dodgy people in that neighbourhood messing about with door cams, one of which resulted in the disappearance of Nancy. So, yeah, don't buy a house there. Don't go and live there and think you'll be safe because you're bloody not safe. Okay, well, listen, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, please. And don't forget to press your notification bell because JLR will be back on the scene later. If I hear anything, I will be back, not on the scene, but talking to you on here. Thank you for caring about Nancy. Will today be the day that there's a break in this case? We thought there was a break before, didn't we, when the other guy was detained, Carlos, poor Carlos and his family. Anyway, resulted in nothing. It was a nothing burger, as they say. What's going to happen today? Maybe, JLR's up at the crack of dawn at the crime scene. I think yesterday he was there at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you've got to admire the guy for his tenacity. I know he does well in a way out of it. His channel does well, but that's a lot, to be hours and hours at a scene like that. And the thing is, people are interested in it. If it wasn't for people like JLR who are there at the scene and keeping us updated, nobody would know anything. So, okay, I'll see you really soon. I'll see you members tonight. We'll be talking about something completely different. I hope this doesn't end up a cold case. It's a very mysterious case, but it's never been solved. It's not likely to be solved because we're looking at members. We look at unexplained mysteries, don't we? I hope there won't be a time, in the future that we'll be looking at Nancy Guthrie's case because she still hasn't been found. That would be awful. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you very soon in the next video. You all take care of yourselves. You are the most important person. Remember that. If you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, may your God go with you. Bye.